r/AskReddit. Posted by user, I am not myself 125. What is the sexiest thing you have ever seen? Something that instantly left you breathless. For me it happened when one of my wife's best friends from college was visiting us. My wife used to tell me stories about Anna, how she liked to keep several BFs hanging around trying to get her attention. She was a drama major and very nonconformist. I had only met her briefly 10 years before. I came home from work and the two of them were sitting out on the patio drinking wine. Anna was as attractive as I remembered 10 years ago. They greeted me, Anna gave me a hug and my wife poured me a glass of wine. I sat down, they were in a giggly mood. My wife is a light drinker, so a couple of glasses of wine and she is buzzed. I asked an innocent question. I knew my wife picked Anna up at the airport around noon. What have you ladies been up to all afternoon? They looked at each other and laughed, then they stood up and lifted their skirts. We waxed each other. Suddenly I was looking at the bare pussies of two beautiful women. It wasn't a flash, they held up their skirts for me to inspect them. No, we didn't have a threesome, but I couldn't wait to get my wife in bed that night. To this day, many years later, my wife can get a rise out of me by asking if I liked seeing their pussies like that. I spent the night at my buddy's house. He still lived with his parents and sister. I was the first to get up in the morning, was hungry so I poured myself a bowl of cereal. I was sitting at the kitchen table and his older sister came in wearing a kind of short nightgown. We greeted each other. She was a real sweetie that I always crushed on. She said she was going to make coffee. When she reached up into the cabinet for the coffee, her nightgown came up over her perfect butt. She immediately said oops and dropped her arms. She turned around to see my deer in the headlights stare, my mouth half open. She laughed and went to get a robe. A couple of years later we hooked up. I found out she had a crush on her little brother's friend too. I told her how much that accidental view of her butt turned me on. She just smiled and said, "Do you really think that was an accident?" What kind of cereal? This is why I love Reddit. Mine is a bit strange. We were heading out for the night and running a little late. Our friends were coming over to pick us up and take us out. I was wearing a nice floral dress but no underwear, and as we waited for our friends to pick us up, I flashed my boyfriend. I told him we didn't have long and knew he'd take longer than we have to come. Instead, he picked me up, put me on the breakfast bar and lifted up my dress. All well and good, except the highlight was that he then proceeded to roll up his sleeves on his shirt, spread my legs and give me an intense tongue fucking. It wasn't so much the act of oral, but the way in which he rolled up his sleeves as if he had a job to do that gets me wetter than an otter's pocket every time I think about it. Needless to say, I got off in time and I got the ride of my life when we got home. Wetter than an otter's pocket. Wonderful description. The first time I saw my BF, now husband, nude. He came by my house after school to take me to the mall. My family had just left to go see my little sister's softball game, so we had rare privacy. He saw me standing there with a robe on. He looked puzzled, until I opened the robe and he saw my nude body for the first time, not just my boobs, all of me. He looked stunned. Then I said, "Your turn." I turned around. I wanted to see him all at once. When he was ready I turned around. He was so gorgeous. He was an athlete and his body looked like a sculpture. His penis was erect. I asked him to turn so I could see his perfect butt. I wanted him badly that second, but we had no birth control, and we weren't ready yet. But he did get his first blowjob. Give your husband a high five for me. He already got head, now he's getting high fives too. Some guys get all the luck. Seeing the boobs of my high school girlfriend the first time. We were sitting on a couch making out, and she let me lift her top up. She wasn't wearing a bra, and so these two adorable D-cups popped out from under her shirt as I lifted it. I remember them being a lot bigger than I thought they would be, and instead of having little pink nipples like the girls in porn, she had these amazing big brown nipples. As a big brown nippled woman, there's hope. My wife is absolutely beautiful. I love lingerie and heels, and when she gets all dolled up, nails, makeup, hair etc. So one day come home from work and there she is all dolled up. High heels, very sexy lingerie, garter belts, tits out, makeup, hair, nails, and all sorts of jewels, and diamonds. Just drop dead gorgeous. I just lost my breath. Speechless I was. Dead in my tracks. She says nothing and walks across the room in those heels and drops to her knees and gives me a blowjob I will never forget. The best thing is that I did not ask for any of this. She just blew my mind. She is amazing. Is your wife single? I also choose this guy's dead wife. The Falcon rocket's landing in sync after Elon launched his car into space. Just nutted. Thanks for that. Daddy, yes. I was there and watched with tears in my eyes as the multiple sonic booms passed by. By far the most incredible thing I've ever seen, and I would pass up sex every time to see the launch and landing again. That whole launch and landings was glorious. 2 days into a 5-day hike. 2 couples and another girl. Skinny dipping in a mountain river. My mate's girlfriend was bent over on all fours trying to keep her footing on the slippery boulders. She was fairly fit and was basically presenting her genitalia to us about 1 meter from my face. I could see her everything. Pink and dripping. She realizes we are looking and said, "A gentleman doesn't stare at a lady's asshole." My GF replied, "He's never seen an asshole with a leech on it before." She didn't have one that I noticed, but then she's touching herself and asking everyone to look and see if it is still there. I still picture that spread open slit from time to time. My GF replied, "He's never seen an asshole with a leech on it before." Yep, she's a keeper. A guy I was dating sent me a video of him wanking and fucking his ass with a dildo. Seeing a straight man like that was so taboo and sexy. Fuck, I still watch it every now and then. Edit. Who knew people would be so passionate about defining my ex's sexuality? FYI, the way he fucked me and looked at me, yeah, I don't think a gay man could fake that shit. RIP your inbox. It's a classic long play for more content. Tied for me. One occasion had my ex with a particularly fat ass getting ready for a 69. First she blowjob mimed at me, which is an instant turn on, then she turned around to straddle my face, spreading herself. She told me to kiss it. As soon as I did, she dropped her cheeks on me and sat firmly on my face. Another was when my wife was titty fucking me. She sat on the floor between my legs and had me fully between her chest, but while she was as far down on me as possible and I was getting ready to finish, she started rubbing her face/cheek/neck against me as I came, then she gave me a kiss at the end of it. Then another ex had this habit: every time she gave me a blowjob, she'd rub me over her face, kiss my balls, then rub the head of me on her lips like lipstick, before deep-throating me. If you mean like non-sexual thing. One ex was a film enthusiast. She recorded herself getting dolled up for a date with me. She started by getting out of the shower and talking to the camera about how excited she was for everything. She talked about which underwear, outfit, makeup, etc. She made faces at the camera and mirror to check herself out and all that good stuff. It was a mixture of sexy and loving for about an hour. This guy has sex. My girlfriend is pretty shy around people. Total girl next door personality. When she opens up and talks dirty during sex is something else. She never swears, but when she says pussy, cock, fuck, cum, etc. in a certain context, holy shit, I lose it. Also, she's been sending me a lot of nudes and my god, the imagination on this woman is something else. Her poses and attention to detail as far as hand placement, angles, lighting, and this look she gives me that I can't really describe. I couldn't hide my erection if I had to. And lastly, seeing her with my cum on her. I've blown my load on women before, but she will take a shot in her mouth and let it drip down her body, watching it as it spreads down her stomach and tits. Alright, I gotta go now. God damn. Yeah. She's definitely come out of her shell in the last few weeks. Just started putting things up her ass and she's all about it. She can force a butt plug out when she comes because they get so powerful. I'm a guy. I shared a 2-bedroom app with my best friend's GF, one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. One morning, she and I are both in the bathroom in our underwear brushing our teeth. She said, rather casually, "X, my best friend, shaved me last night." Without a thought, I pulled her panties out and looked down at the prettiest little shaved pussy. I think I said something like, "Yep, looks like it." She didn't say anything. Still makes me hard thinking about that. The amount of friend zone though, oof. Yeah, there was friend zone there. But, it was certainly on edge. Once, we were driving along and she said that she was going to get fake tits because she was so flat. I said that she wasn't. She said, "Dude, check it out." So, I reached into her wife beater and grabbed her tit. She looked at me with a shocked face. And, I have to say, the girl had no tits. I mean, there was nothing to grab. A while later, she bought some bolt-ons. Looked great. She was sitting at our kitchen table in a sweatshirt and asked me if I noticed anything different. I actually didn't. I mean, her face and body was so bangin' that tits were hardly needed. Well, she told me that she had bought the bolt-ons, and arched her back to show off the C-cups. Dang. I asked her to show me. She said later. I saw a pic. And, my best friend told me that she generally had a line of baby ducks out the door whenever she went in for a checkup. We slept together a few times. Barely clothed. But, I'm not into rape. And, she was. I don't think I like you. I accidentally walked in on my ex's younger sister changing and bending over, and saw her pussy and butthole. I've seen much kinkier things, but this one I'll remember for the rest of my days. It was such a beautiful sight. It made me instantly rock hard. Makes me hard even thinking about it. Did she notice you were there? Yay, the two of them shared a room, so it wasn't the first time one of us walked in on the other. I just said sorry and closed the door. But she's a cool chick, and we had a good relationship.